sanibonani babukele sesifikile thina nohlelo Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Bukele sakaza kubo khoma la umahamba phambili SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. Mina ke ngo-Alisha intombi yakajali. Bukele uyaza sikuvaleli ngaphandle ngokuhamba kwesikhathi sokuvulela phela na uthuba ukuthi ubambe iqhaza odabeni sobe silidingida namhlanje. Uyazi inamba zethu zase studio 011 714 6918 noma 011 714 6919. Ungas email ku consumer@sabc.co.za noma sithole ku Facebook or Twitter. Keeping a clean credit record is not always easy for millions of over-indebted consumers who are drowning in debt in South Africa. But consumer rights bodies insist that the only way out of debt is for consumers to start building healthy credit profiles. And that means guarding their credit standing and, of course, focusing on paying off their accounts, including cutting down on unnecessary expenses until one is up on their feet. Let's take a look at Yilungelo Lakho.
Abantu abaningi balapha eMzansi Afrika baphila ngemali yokubolekwa kanti abantu abasezikweletini bafinyelela cishe ku-1.47 trillion yamarandi kanti lezi zikweletu ezezimoto ama-credit card ama-loan kanye nezitolo zezingubo. Ukuwa komnotho emhlabeni wonke jikelele ngonyaka ka-2008 washiya abantu abaningi ezikweletini. Kumanje abathengi abaningi abakabuyeli esimeni kanti abaningi bayacila ezikweletini ngenxa yokubiza kwezinga lempilo kanye nokuntuleka kwemisebenzi. Konke lokhu kuyimbangela yezinga labantu abaningi aba-blacklisted ku-credit bureau. Nangoba abantu abacishe befinyelele ku-1.6 million bejabulele isichaphazelo sokuthi bazosulwa ezincwadini ezimnyama, abe-Consumer Rights Organization bathi abathengi kumele begade indlela abazifaka ngayo ezikweletini, behlise indlela abasebenzisa ngayo imali ezintweni abangazidingi. Bayaxwayisa abathengi beqinisene ukutheni belungise amagama abo kanye nezikweletu zabo, kakhulukazi uma sebefuna ukuthenga imizi noma izimoto. Nokuthi nje umthengi ehlezi elazi izinga le-credit record lakhe ukuthi lime kuphi. The Credit Bureau Monitor ikhombisa ukuthi cishe abantu abawu-20 million abalapha eMzansi Afrika abasezikweletini kanti ucishe u-10 million wabo abakwazi ukuzikhokhela izikweletu zabo. Kanti nalokhu sekudale ukuthi abantu bengakwazi ngisho nokuthola imisebenzi. Kanti naka-ke amacebo abathengi abangawasebenzisa ekutheni banga-blacklistwa. Khokha noma imali encane edingekayo esikweletini sakho njalo ngenyanga. Khokha ngesikhathi esifanele. Khokha nge-debit order uma ungakwazi. Ungawazibi amasamaniso. Bheka izinga le-credit record lakho bese uyalungisa la kukhona inkinga. Yehlisa i-credit limit yakho ungaze ulingeke. Yazi i-budget yakho, uyihloniphe futhi. Ucwepheshe bathi uma umthengi egcina i-credit record elihle futhi esebenzisa imali ngokuhlakanipha, engakwazi ukuthola imali noma isikweletu lapho esesidinga khona kakhulu. Unompumelelo umthethwa, Yilungelo Lakho, eGoli.
Sibonge kakhulu ngalombiko esiwenzelwe ngunompumelelo umthethwa. Manje ukukhuluma kabanzi ngalolu daba samukele izivakashi zethu sinayo uJacqueline Boucher yena ophuma kwinhlanganiso ebhekene nezikweletu iNational Credit Regulator. Sibe nayo Simphiwe Khumalo wena ongumthengi owazithola ekumabhuku amnyama kwi-Credit Bureau. Ula namhlanje ukukhuluma ngenkinga yakhe yokuthi yena wazivikela kanjani kulesi simo. Siphinde sibe naye uSesinelo yena ke ngiyajwayela ukuthi senimjwayele futhi kakhulu babukele uphuma ofisi elixazulula izikhalazo zabathenga ngama credit ombudsman. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Let's start by understanding what is a credit record. What information is on a credit record? Let's start with you, Jacqueline.
Right. A credit record has information pertaining to your personal details, firstly, so it would have information on your name, your ID number, phone numbers, residential addresses. Then it has information pertaining to your credit. That would be your payment profile, how you pay your accounts on a monthly basis, and then if it is blacklisting, it would be judgments, it would be adverse listings, and so it's a full record of all the information pertaining to how you actually manage your accounts and your personal information.
All right, sis, now we accumulate kanjani i-credit record umuntu as a consumer?
Alicia, as you go and you open AMA account, because you would open your accounts and that record would build up. So as you go and open them, izo gwala kanjalo, and your history, your credit record will build up from that. So it will be all the accounts that you've had previously, all the accounts unazo at the moment, and those are the kinds of things that would build up your credit record. If uhamba maybe ufuna kuvula amanyama account, there would be those inquiries, or maybe you're looking to access e-loan or anything of the sorts where you are trying to access e-credit, izoshia nayo, you will have that building up as well. So as Jackie had said, it's all of that information combined with AMA account wako. So as you go, as you pay, the length of time that you have AMA account wako and how you're paying them, that is how it actually builds up e-credit record yako. E-credit score yako will then emanate from that. Ukuthi bazobheka ukuthi unama account angakanani, uyabhatala kanjani, do you have any adverse information, kusho ukuthi maybe uganishizwe or kune ama default listing, or judgment ithatwe against you. All of that information, it's both the positive information, and how you're conducting yourself, and the negative information, if ever you've been listed. That's how it will build up a profile yako through the years. It will gather that information.
And what is the importance of a credit record really?
Well, it gives you access to credit. Very often, consumers will say, I have no accounts and I can't get credit. And your credit report gives an indication of how you maintained your smaller accounts, not only credit. For example, your insurance is listed there, your medical aid, those sorts of things also listed there. But mostly it would be that you can then build up a credit profile, get a good credit rating. So that's the importance of a credit record, is to obviously show to someone that doesn't know you, to say, this is how I manage my accounts. This is the risk that I present to you, possibly. This is how I am intending to pay.
All right. And Sismeo, credit yako, does it remain active even though, let's say, uthenga izinto zakho cash, awuna ama accounts are active? Ihlale inawo leyo information?
No, you mean after you've bought? Yes. That record will remain there
for a lifetime.
For not a lifetime.
Okay.
AMA Credit Bureau, they have to keep certain information for a period of about 5 years. You must remember kuti AMA account, as I've said, it's either information of accounts you had previously and accounts you have currently. So it's quite important kuti maunama account, as part of iScore yako, you need to close the accounts. It doesn't mean kuti if you've just paid off an account but you haven't physically gone and said I don't want to use it anymore. You have to do that, because sometimes people will find that maybe une account yembashl, and you take it with e-insurance or AMA Club magazine. So if you have a Valley account, you've paid off what you've taken in terms of clothing, if it's a clothing account, mar awi value account, your club magazines will be running, maybe if you take insurance, iso runner. So
even if you're not taking in
exactly. And sometimes that is how people get listed, because you accumulate AMA costs that you're not really aware of, but inkinga is that you didn't close off the account. So it's important ukuthi mawuqedile account and you're not going to use it anymore, ivale, ask the credit provider ukuthi bayivale kahle.
And I'm sure uSimphiwe ngasichazela kabanzi ngoba wayithola isenkingeni enjalo. Simphiwe usichazele, sizongena odabeni lakho msesikhuluma nge-unfair blacklisting. Yini ungifundise yona njengoba umthengi usuzithole usenkingeni nje?
Mina sesingifundise kakhulu ukuthi ngi-understand ukuthi i-steps sakhona ukuthi uzuyithola ususey'ncwadini ezimnyama, siqala kuphi siphela kuphi. So
asichazele wena ngokwazi kwakho kuqala kanjani?
Kahle sisi njengoba sichazile uneyo ukuthi isikhathi esiningi mangabe uzovula i-account ungayivali, and then either mhlambe amalento zana ama-account wakho ngaso sonke isikhathi kumele uwavale, wenze sure ukuthi you pay them continuously, because into eyenzakalayo uthola ukuthi kuphele 3 months ungakhokhile, iyaqala i-create mhlambe i-error lapho already. Makuphela isikhathi mhlambe ezingango-6 months sebekufonela bekutshela ukuthi ivale isikweletu, ungasivali, ugcine sewuthola ukuthi usuyey'ncwadini ezimnyama.
But what causes the credit and interest to keep going even though you're not necessarily buying from this account? I don't know, you've just mentioned that it's the magazines and everything that they're still notifying you of. Jacqueline?
Remember something, credit is also coupled with, like she correctly raised, insurance. it is coupled with the service fee. So there is not just the interest, and possibly, I mean, if you've brought the account down to zero, they're not going to be charging interest, but it's these fees which you've signed for, your club fees. It's a great point, because a lot of consumers forget about that, and specifically what you call credit facilities, your store cards, your credit cards, those sorts of things will continue to accumulate fees even if you brought the account to zero and you need to physically close it.
My goodness, why abantu bengakwazi lokho sisnell?
I think it's just one of those things maybe that we don't take note of. I mean,
Absolutely,
if we took ama-steps ukuthi uyivule, we need to take steps ukuthi uyivale. So a lot of people, and especially masikhuluma nga ama-credit score njalo, umuntu will say, but you know, I've got an excellent score, kwenzakalani. Sometimes it happens ukuthi ama-account aningi that are opened, and for each credit provider, it's possible access to credit that you already have.
Yes.
So to them it'd be like at any point lo muntu lo can decide ukuthi ngizothatha impahla la where it was previously 0-0.
Yes.
So those are the kinds of things you need to take into consideration. It's an important point ukuthi uyazi
Absolutely.
malivulile ivale. It's as simple as that.
Jacqueline, please explain the logic behind not being able to acquire credit if you don't have existing credit. Surely the lenders should know that if nobody's taking my money, you're going to get your money fully paid. It doesn't make sense.
I understand what you're saying. One of the simplest things that I got taught is that how you manage your small accounts will give someone the indication on how you manage your larger accounts. And we need to remember that when someone's extending credit to you, they're taking a risk. And so generally when a consumer wants to enter the credit market, that's the things, it's these small accounts that you take, a small, clothing account or a cell phone account or something like that, build it up, and then some will have a track record of how you pay. So I understand your logic, but I think from a credit provider's point, I hear where they're coming from. They need to be able to know what risk you are.
But what about young professionals just entering the working market and they want to acquire credit for the first time?
I don't think they only take your credit profile into account. If you're a young professional, they will take things into account, for example, your salary, your expenses. They'll take into account a study of a young professional in a field, for example, accounting, would be hired in a position for 2 years doing, articles.
Yes.
So it's those sorts of things that they definitely will take into account. So it's not only your credit rating, but I mean, it is something to...
Still not justified to me. Okwamanje mbukela asithi jikelele nje ey'tolo, but before we do that ithi ngikhumbuze ukuthi phela nawe ungabamba iqhaza odabeni lethu ngokusishayela la ucingo lethu 011-714-6918 noma uzame ku-714-6919. Email yethu consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungasithola futhi na ku-Facebook and Twitter. Siyabuya khona manje. Siphinde sikwamukele futhi mbukelo sabuke uhlelo Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right la ku SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. To take part in our studio discussion, please call us on 011-714-6918 noma 714-6919. Ungasithumela email ku consumer@sabc.co.za or catch us on Facebook or Twitter. Ladies, before we continue, I want you to drive the point home. Jacqueline, let's start with you. Explain what a good and healthy credit record is for a consumer.
A good credit record is one that has a clear payment profile, which shows that payments were made on a monthly basis, on the correct time, the correct amount. It is one that doesn't have garnishes or judgments against it or adverse listings against it. That would be a good, healthy credit record. So it's just an indication of someone that is paying their accounts correctly.
Okay, so if you fall behind by 1 month, are you going to be on the bad side of...
What we always need to remember is that a credit bureau report contains all that information, good and bad. And so a payment profile is an indication every single month your credit provider has to show.
The good and the bad.
It actually looks at the bottom, it looks like a little grid, and then it will have numbers there to show, did someone pay, did they not pay? And so if you did not pay, there will be an indication that it didn't pay, but it will reflect for, you know, a period on there to say, this is how this person has been paying. So if you did skip 1 month, then they'll show that the next month you made 2 payments. So it will show on that report.
All right, let's take Yilungelo on the line from Cape Town. Sawamukela ohlelweni.
Okay, ndiyabulisa sesuphilile.
Siyaphila sisi wami, sicela uqhubeke ngombuzo noma umbono.
Ndicela ubuza ne into eyenzekayo bendityala andazi noma ndiyibize na i-account. Ngayibiza?
Qhubeka sisi sicela.
Bendityala u-sales house ne wandifaka kwa-credit bureau. Emveni koba ndifakile kwa-credit bureau ndenza i-debit order. Bayitsala imali eyayingange-R50 and then into evele yenzeka ivele yastopha la mali and then I-assume ukuthi imali bayifumene okanye igqibekile ityala ubhatala because bendingafumani ileta ndingafumani intoni, but then kuthe apha ezivekini I think last week bandifowunela kwakhona besithi ndiyatyala kwakhona imali yakwa-sales house eyi-600 and something, but then what is so strange is bathi zange ndabhatala oko. And then bendikhe ndazama uyibhatala i-account yabo kwenye ishop kwa-CNA olapha kufitshane nam. Emveni koba ndiyibhatale le shop kwa-CNA olapha kufitshane nam ndalahla iziliphu. Njengoba ndilahle iziliphu ke ngoku kwacaba bathi ke ngoku andinayo iproof, nyhani ndabe ndingenayongo iproof. So cases ezinjalo ke ngoku kwenziwa njani?
Sisi Mamukele, awuzamanga ukubuyela esitolo mhlawumbe uyocela ama-copies ama-receipt, uke wakuzama lo?
Andikwazanga sisi because akusekho sales house ngoku apha eCape Town.
Okay sis, all right, sicela umamele kumabonakude wakho sibone ukuthi singakusiza.
Enkosi ke ma.
All right sis. No.
Yeah, I think it just proves ukuthi this is where as e-consumer mele uthathe responsibility kancane because usisi njengashilo ukuthi bebhatala. It's important ukuthi uthole i-statement yakho. Ucheck because i-statement yakho it's going to show ama-payment wakho ahamba kanjani, izobonisa ne-balance yakho because njengashilo bebethatha ama-debit order and the next thing ayowastopa. So it's important ukuthi ucheck i-statement yakho so that you can be aware ukuthi one, i-balance yakho intoni and to see ama-payment wakho are they going through. And inkinga it's a serious problem because manje usisi doesn't even have ulahla ma-slip. That's the other thing, you know, as a consumer that you must do, 30 file or incwadi and stick those ama-slip corner because yabana makunenkinga emfana like this one, it becomes difficult for you to prove ukuthi nyani bebhatala. So mina what I can advise her is that maybe abuyele aye to whichever store it was, abuze ukuthi i-head office iguphi and go back there and try and see ukuthi maybe there'll be proof if bebhatala ngama-debit order angaya e-bank baphula ama-statement izobonisa. That's the other thing. And if maybe beyenza electronic transfers nakho ke it will show ukuthi. So that is the only advice ngingakusiza, otherwise maybe asifonele sibone ukuthi simsiza kanjani.
Okay sis, all right, Nkosi from Protea North, siyakwamukela ohlelweni.
Sanibonani.
Siyakwamukela sisi, sicela ubuze umbuzo noma ubeke umbono.
Ngicela ukubuza bengikweleta i-Telkom ngayibhadala ngayiqeda i-Telkom, so ngibhadala direct e-Telkom, akho agreement engayenza nama-lawyers, ngabhadala nje direct. So mase sengiqedile ngathi ngiyaya ukuthi ngicela ukuthi bayivale, bangithumela le nale bathi bona bayivale i-account. Nini sengizwa bathi no kune-230 efakiwe lapho yama-lawyer.
Okay.
So angazi manje ukuthi kufanele ngenzani ngoba akukho agreement engayisayini emaloyeni, ngabhadala direct and amaloya bewane account yawo ye-Nedbank, mina ngibhadala straight elokhuzeni e-Telkom.
Okay ma, siyabonga, sicela ulalele kumabonakude wakho.
Thank you.
All right sis, now do you want to quickly address
Mama,
that one?
It sounds as if somewhere somehow maybe Benga Patali Kahle, she got handed over to ama lawyers.
Yes.
And in cases like this, is that once you've been handed over, kunama fees, abazo edayo, you know, ama legal costs, jengasho, ama service fees, ushiloguti the line bebanga falanga. So it's those service fees that were accumulating mhlambe because line they didn't completely close it off. So mina advice nigo mama guti she really just needs to go back to lama lawyer, acele the proper balance, abone ukuthi yini, and try and sort it out. If maybe she feels ubhatale too much or whatever nakona, angasithinta sibone, but that is the advice ukuthi. I think she was handed over, and mau hand you over. Even if hand you over nge balance ye 500 as an example.
Lawyers. Now, Jacqueline, we spoke about something earlier. Neo just mentioned that this is one of the ways you need to check if those debit orders are going through. Debit orders sometimes don't go through because those creditors will just not debit you, and I mentioned this earlier. And then you find yourself in arrears. Say you've been overseas, you left these people to debit your account. You're not even aware of the situation. So how would you go about fixing that then?
Consumers need to remember that you need to be a responsible consumer. And if someone has extended money to you, even if there is a debit order in place, you need to do a recon every month to make sure that everything has gone off. You actually have no defense to say that I didn't know that the debit order didn't go off.
But you agreed for them to take the money at a specific date.
I hear you, but you have to make sure every month, and if you pick up this month, this debit order didn't go through. We have cell-phone banking now. We get a notification.
And if you're out of the country,
you need to then go and access your internet banking to have a look at that. But you can take it to the head office and say, we've signed an agreement, you've agreed to take these amounts off, there has been 3 missed payments. But you as a consumer need to be on top of it. It can't be that you come 6-7 months down the line and say, I didn't know that my bond was not going off for 5,000 rand a month.
You do know it's not going off. All right, let's take Benedict from Pretoria. Welcome to Yilungelo Lakho. Benedict, are you still with us on the line?
Hello, how are you?
Yes, Benedict. Please go ahead with your question or comment. Benedict?
You know what?
Yes, please go ahead.
The thing is, I am blacklisted at the moment.
Yes, Benedict, please tell us your story and don't mention your provider.
The thing is, my problem is I'm blacklisted at the moment.
We seem to be having a very bad line. We seem to be having a bad line. Mbukeli musifonela usitshele nje indaba yakho ukuthi ithini, ungasitshela ukuthi isiphi isitolo ngoba cha ngempela sizoyithola sisenkingeni si SABC 1. All right, okwamanje Mbukeli, let's take another quick ad break. Please uhlale nathi. Welcome back Mbukeli, usabheke uhlelo Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right khona la kumahamba phambili iSABC 1 iMzansi for sure. Nompumelelo KZN sakwamukela ehlelweni. Yebo bhoti siyabonga, sicela usibuze umbuzo nombeka umbono.
Ngiyinkinga lapha bhoti.
Yebo qhubeka bhoti.
Nginedila engathi ngakuyona imoto, ngizoyisho igama.
Yebo baba.
Le moto idila ithe mangidayisela ngoJanuary ka 2011, yathi le moto imodel ka 2011. Engithina sengithatha umshwalense wale moto, umshwalense usengibuyisela ama-documents we-police. Wathi umshwalense imoto kuyona ka 2011 model. 2007 model.
Okay.
Mina ngase ngivela ke manje ngale ngifinansiwe ibhange imoto indleko zayo imoto ivele yani plus minus 280,000. Manje insurance le moto ithi le moto nge-2007 ayimelanga ukufikelela kuleyo mali mayidayiswa. Inani layo ifanele uba ibe lapha ko plus minus 75,000.
Baba Mbubelelo,
le mali engidayiswe ngayo mina close to 300,000 imali yezimoto eziwu-4-3.
Okay, Baba Mbubelelo awubambe kanjalo nangu sisine uzoku-address.
Yeah, ngicabanga ukuthi ubaba indaba yakhe mele iye
Khuluma na, he's on the line. Oh, Umpumelelo. Yeah, Umpumelelo. Indaba yakho baba, I think ilibanele i-National Consumer Commission
Because sikhuluma credit CPA, Credit Protection Act, here the legal act that will protect you, Lana, because as you say, but 2011 country, that's not the model. So National Consumer Commissioner will definitely be able to assist you with that matter.
Okay. Sizokubonisela inamba screening sethu ezoba umpumelelo as siqhubeka nohlelo, so uphathe ipeni lakho nephepha, siyabonga ukuthi usifonele.
Ngicela ukuthi mina ungizela ngiyakwazi ukubona lapha ku screen.
Okay baba, sizokubizela yona ekugcineni mase kuphela uhlelo.
Ngikhohlwa dadewethu.
Hayi ngeke sikhohle baba umpumelelo. All right. Simphiwe, finally asiza udaba lakho bhuti, uzithole usemabhukwini amnyama kakhulu. Kwenzakaleni?
Kusho ukuthi sisi last year ngo-October ngingazama ukuthi ngithathe i-home loan yabuya ya decliner kuwo wonke amabhenki. So ngingazi ukuthi yenziswa yini, ngabuza bangitshela ukuthi angifonele one of ama ITC company. Ngafind out ukuthi ngi blacklistwe ibhenki lami. Yabo. So ngibafonele ngibuza ukuthi kanjani, bengitshela ukuthi no bewune account, so upgradeela i-check account yakho to a different platform. So into eyenzakalayo le account yakho asiyivalanga, ibi accumulate ama interest because in ama debit order abounce back.
Okay. Awubambe kanjalo Simphiwe, mbukela sithi ukuthi nje shwi eyitolo siyabuya khona manje. Sikwamukele futhi mbukele, sikhuluma ngokubaleka kokuthi uzikhiphe ezikweletini eziningi. Izivakashi zethu nguJacqueline Boucher, yena ophuma kwa credit regulator, sibe nawo Simphiwe Khumalo, yena ongumthengi owakhe wavinjwa izikweletu waze wangena la ku credit bureau. Bese siba naye futhi uSisineleto, yena ovela kwihhovisi la kwa credit ombudsman. All right Simphiwe, ubusasichazela udaba lakho, awuqhubeke bhuti.
Yes. So mangabe ngibuyela kwi-bank lami ngifind out ukuthi bangibopheleleni, bangitshela ukuthi ikhadi lami ngesikhathi ngilivala ama account number asaqhubeka ngemuva. Okay, so bangivalile ngo-2012 ngabo June, after 3 months ikhadi ngilivalile. So ngicela ukuthi ngikhokhe leyo mali bese beyalivula, savumelana. After that ngathola ukuthi sengikhokhile, siyasendelana ama-email, ngiyabona ama-email going through to ama ITC company asho ukuthi bacela ukuthi bangi-remove, baconfirm ukuthi ngeke bekwazi ukungivula because kumele ngihlale 2 years kule default yakhona. Well, ngize ngacishe ngathatha iy'nqumo zokuthi ngiconsult nama-lawyer, ngibona amaphepheni ama-phone number ukuthi kuthiwa noma ufuna sikusize sifonele, but ngingekho informed ukuthi nakhona mawenza lokho futhi usuke usuyigaxa kwi-admin futhi again administration. So ngingakwazi nalokho futhi ngasuka kuthe early this year ngafonela futhi khona ngibancenga nje nginika isikhathi ngoba ngiyazi ayikho into engizoyenza mina esayidini lami. Ngafona bese ngichazela lo sisi ukuthi ucela ngizame ukufonela i-credit ombudsman. Ngabafonela sisi within 2 weeks i-problem bese sorted, bangicleaner with wonke. And futhi into emnandi ngithe mangibafonela and mina bengifocusa kwe-1 i-ITC company. So mangifonela i-credit ombudsman bangisiza baphula ama-record wawo wonke ama ITC company and then bawa-remove to all of them. I think we top 4 bawa-remove, so I've been clean for the past 4 months now.
Wow, congratulations and thank you so much to ENCC as well. Now, ladies, let's talk about the term blacklisting. What has been done for you to actually end up on that list? Have they asked you to pay? You haven't replied. Is this like the last step for creditors to take to just put you on the blacklist?
Blacklist as in an adverse listing. Yes, you probably received phone calls. We as consumers, one of the most stressful things is being over-indebted and getting calls from the credit providers or debt collectors, and generally we try and avoid those calls at all cost. The National Credit Act also makes it a requirement that you need to get a letter to tell you that your account has been in arrears for X amount of days, and the following step is that they're going to list you on the bureau.
In Simpiwa's case, that's not what happened. He just literally found himself on the list without having been told. Isn't there legal stipulation that says at least they need to be informed?
That's exactly it. The Act does provide that you need to get a notification to say that, all right, if you do not pay, you're going to be listed. And that is probably the reason why he could be removed, because the correct procedures in listing him were not followed. So, you know, there will be those letters, and if you get that letter, I always urge consumers to react, because if that adverse listing is there, it will stay there for 2 years. So, you know, you need to react to it when there is a call or a letter to you to say that our next step is to blacklist you. Now, that's not your payment profile. That is a listing that in terms of law needs to stay there for 2 years, judgment 5 years, you know, and the list goes on. So there is retention periods that it has to be kept there. So it's always better to react before than have to, you know, try and do something afterwards.
Yes, and just to add, as Jackie said, you need to be notified. And manje mabak notifier, baknika 20 business days. Kusho ukuthi it's a whole month if sikhaunta ama weekend. Ukuthi it's either you come to some sort of an agreement or something needs to happen before. But if blacklister maybe before the 20-day period, that is what we call also it's an unfair listing. They have to go according to the law and umthetho to 20 business days for you before blacklister. So it's important to pick up the calls, open your letters so that we
are be private now. I'll start to figure it to AKZN. So Yilungelo Lakho.
Yabona njani sisilapha studio?
Siyaphila siswami, sicela usibuze umbuzo nombeka umbono.
Mina ngicela ukubuza bandla ukuthi uma ungafundile uyibona kanjani ukuthi ubi-credit deal, ungenza kanjani ukuthi ngoba phela uma ungafundile ungazi kanjani?
Siyabonga kakhulu siswami, ubalulekile ngempela lo mbuzo. Sicela ulalele kumabonakude wakho. She's saying, just reiterating, if you're not educated and you don't have the means to check your credit score, what do you then do? Sisno?
Yes, sometimes you don't have to read. Okay, ungafona sinama credit bureau awu4 and you are entitled to one free credit report every single year. Kusho ukuthi uzothola i1 from each 4 of them for free. So into ongayenza ukuthi ubafonele utshele ukuthi bakunike i-credit record yakho. Bakhona, they are there ukuthi bakusize ukuthi bakuchazele ukuthi what is in there and explain to you ukuthi isebenza kanjani. So even if you know awafundanga but there is help out there, bazokusiza bakuchazele kahle ukuthi isimo sakhe sinjani if ubafonela.
Okay, Simpiwa, in your knowledge kulokho zekuthatha isikhathi esingakanani ukuthi udile lento on your own before uthola i-advice ukuthi ufonele i-credit ombud?
I think it took me at least 7 months, and then from there, and into engizengayisiza ngayo ukuthi ngiregister ngisubscribe to all top 4. So even if kunama inquiries angenayo kwi account yami without me knowing about it, ngithola i-SMS notification ukuthi someone is doing something, you understand? And when I call in, they can even tell me ukuthi company yipi igama layo with the phone number, so I can call them and find out ukuthi bekwenzakalani, because I was not aware of that. And any option futhi also register also subscribe here, you can actually pull a report every month if you want to. But Google was monitor credit yako. You can do that too as well.
All right, please explain that process, Jacqueline, of subscribing to the bureaus and being able to actually access information and be just open with the bureau as well, with every information in and out of the bureau.
I think it's just a matter of calling them and saying that, you know, this is my ID number and I'd like to subscribe to your information about me. What's important is that, as we said, your credit report is for free. Every year you're allowed to get that. And as consumers, to make sure that our report is healthy and that there isn't the wrong information on there.
Absolutely.
You need to pull it every year and have a check and see, no, my ID number is listed wrong here. This account I've never opened. And in that way, you just lodge a dispute with the bureau and they have 20 days to investigate it. If it is unfounded, they will then have to remove it.
All right, let's take Noluvuyo from Eastern Cape. Noluvuyo, sakwamukela Yilungelo Lakho.
Hello, sisinjani?
Siphilile sisi, sicela usibuze umbuzo nombeka umbono.
Okay, sisi into eyenzekayo ndabelwa i-ID yam ne.
Yebo sis.
And then ndiyovula i-account ke ngoku only to find out I am blacklisted through uthandavula i-account kwa-Avon, and now I am blacklisted. So itwani ke ngoku into enjalo because now I've never opened the account in Avon and signed anything, and I just sign a person. I so wish I can know, but how does it work? Into bana kubiwe ID yakho kuvulwe izinto without your knowing, and then now I'm blacklisted.
Sisi, before uhambe why police station wabhali affidavit yokuthi why report ID?
Even abantu baka Avon that advised me to do that, mama. The police station, the affidavit, and I did all of that, and they never came back to me. And I've got kids now. I can't do anything because of this thing I don't even know about.
Okay, ma, siyabonga kakhulu. Sicela ulalele kumabonakude impendulo.
Okay.
Thank you, sis.
Yeah. Usisi uthathe the right steps ukuthi ahambe avula i-affidavit leyo kusho ukuthi itshontshiwe, because leyo siyibiza i-fraud. It's a fraudulent
identity theft as well.
Yes. So ikhona, it's one of the things esisiza ngayo ukuthi obviously it's not information yakhe. This is when we say it's incorrect information.
Okay.
So anga asithinta naye, and the other thing is ngizom-advise ukuthi ayenze kune i-organization bathi i-South African Fraud Prevention Services. Layo ke banikela nge-service ukuthi yabana njengosisi batshontshe i-ID yakhe bazovula amanye ama-account angayazi, so angahamba a-register i-ID number yakhe lapho.
Okay.
So that then ke if they're trying to open an account it will be difficult for them.
Okay,
it's a free service eba-offerayo. So into yakhe she can call us ngentaba yakhe i-fraudulent listing.
Okay, siyabonga kakhulu. Kwamanje mbukeli asithathe i-ad break yethu yokugcina. Please do stay with us. To our final segment. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to talk now. Very big thing. Christmas is coming, and so is the credit amnesty. Tell us a bit about what consumers can look forward to in terms of credit amnesty, Jacqueline.
Okay, when we've done research, and as we can see from all the callers that are coming in, it's quite clear that from the 20 million credit active consumers, a lot of them are over-indebted and a lot of them have adverse listings. Now, a credit amnesty was done previously, but as we know, the world went into a recession. It was difficult for us to pick ourselves up from that, even after the recovery. A lot of credit was extended just before the National Credit Act came out as well. So consumers, consumers just found that they were caught in the cycle. The government, as well as the National Credit Regulator and the Department of Trade and Industry and ratepayers had a look at this, and we had to see how we could alleviate the stress on consumers, also without affecting the credit industry at large. And a lot of negotiations went forward and public comments, and it was decided that a credit amnesty would go forward. There were 3 options that would have been presented, and it was decided that all adverse information, irrespective of the amount, irrespective of whether you have paid it or not, will be removed. Then on an ongoing basis, after the amnesty is come into effect, any adverse classification, adverse information for a debt which you have paid will be removed as well. And then the last one is that if you have a judgment against your name, if you have paid that, it will also be removed, irrespective of whether, you have gone to court to rescind that, but because a lot of consumers don't have that kind of money. So it will be an ongoing process. One thing that consumers do need to note, though, that they don't need to apply for this. It will happen automatically if you are eligible for the amnesty.
Yes.
So
before you tell us who's eligible for the amnesty, let's take Temba from Carltonville. Temba, sicela nje uthi qaba bhuti wami.
Njani?
Siyaphila bhuti wami, sicela uqhubeke ngombono noma umbuzo.
Ya, mina ngiku-credit bureau for African Bank, so ngayenza emadwareni, so lelwar le bayithathe isitifiketi kwamanje manje i-African Bank bathi abanalo isizo la, mina ngithole lelwar le ngayenza kuyo le nto yokubhadala lamasikeleto and then imali yami idonsile akayisanga nebamhlepheni isistage kwamanje angazi ukuthi ngimele ngenze kanjani ngoba ngiyi-credit bureau.
Okay, Butisebo, I think he says his money is not reaching the creditors, the desired creditors, but they've got garnishee orders on his accounts. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think Ubuti, what he needs
seems to be under administration as well.
I think he needs to go back. If he's under administration, he needs to go back to whoever Amfage under administration and talk to them, ask for the statement and see what is going on. Or Kanye, he can go back to ama credit providers wake acela ama statement wake. Akhona ukubona ukuthi is the money getting there or not, and if it's not, I address whoever the middleman,
the administrator, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about let's go on with credit amnesty. Who will be eligible? Will people like Simpiwe, if he still wasn't if he was still on the blacklist, would he have benefited from credit amnesty?
100%, because as we were chatting, he was saying that the listing was bad debt written off, which is an adverse classification.
Okay.
So that would have been removed.
All right.
Another thing that consumers need to know, though, as we said, Christmas is coming and the amnesty as well. That doesn't mean that you don't need to pay your accounts. Doesn't mean that your debt has been written off. It is just the information on the bureau that was preventing you from getting credit. But that if you are going to apply for credit, that you as a consumer need to be responsible and only start borrowing once you are back on your feet and you've settled your debts. Don't go and overcommit yourself. You need to leave a legacy for your family. So credit that you're getting should only be for those sorts of things. And the legacy shouldn't be that they need to deal with debt collectors.
Okay. Will the eligible people be notified, or do they have to apply? As you said, they were calling the call center asking how to apply.
I think obviously notice to the entire public will come out probably from Jackie's office or the DTI that will then inform us which proposal is the one that will go forth with and when and how it will happen. So I think all of that information, once our public hearings are over and the process is settled,
they'll be notified.
Will be disseminated.
Okay, now let's talk about tips of maintaining a healthy credit record. Let's start with you, Jack.
I think if you make a payment arrangement, you need to stick to it and pay your accounts on time, even if it is if you've agreed to pay the 25th of the month, pay the 25th of the month. Don't wait till the 2nd or the 3rd. And then pay the amount that you've agreed. So if the contract says 300 Rand, paying 270, it does affect your record.
So Snell, your tips?
Definitely, as Jackie said, pay the correct amount at the correct time. And if you happen to run into problem, because siyazi isimo semali changes from time to time.
Yes.
Anything can happen. Maybe one of you loses your job. If you are partners or there's a death in the family, you can't pay as you should. The first thing you need to do, please contact a credit provider yako. And a lot of people don't know where to go because bazo kulma maybe with the person was a call center or the salesman. No, contact a credit department of your credit provider and ask to make an arrangement. And once you've made the arrangement, please stick to it by all means, because if installment is 300, don't pay 270. Go and make the arrangement first. Ne credit provider yako ukuti, is it fine? Nivumelani kutu batale a smaller amount. Then you know kuti you will not be listed at the credit bureau for that.
Okay, and then let's now talk about trying to upkeep your healthy credit record. How do you maintain such a record then?
I think it's important, as we've reiterated the whole time, pull that free record so that you can see what is going on there. Keeping our heads in the sand and not knowing what information someone's keeping about me, which is preventing me from going forward in life. So pull that free record, and then if you see stuff, be in contact with your credit providers. If you see that it is a legitimate thing that has been listed, take steps to go forward and say, how can I take control of this situation? Let's make an arrangement and let's go forward from here. Because it's not a death sentence for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
It's only maintained for a specific period.
Simpiwe, how would you advise our viewers from your experience?
Nami sisi ngiyavuma ukuthi ngcono uhlale ngaso sonke isikhathi uyazi record yakho. Ungafona or either ungasubscribe uthola ama report almost every time.
Lo subscribe kuyakhokhelwa nesino. Please awusichazele quickly.
Ukhumbule ukuthi uthola one free credit report every year. Beyond that, maybe if ufuna more than one, uzobhatala, but it's a nominal fee. I think it's up to about maybe 25 rand, no more than 25 rand. So if you want more than lay one ngenyaka, and njengobuthi uya subscriber, kusho ukuthi uzofonela lama credit bureau bazokutshela ukuthi how much is it for that subscription service. So that one it's not for free, but you do get the one free credit report.
It's quite useful though, and I'd advise everybody
definitely
to actually have one. Okay,
so because you can even monitor my account wakho, you can see ukuthi ikuphi la oku-wrong khona, so ukwazi ukukhokha ikweletu zakho ngendlela right.
All right. Anything else, ladies, you want to advise our viewers? Christmas is coming. How can they best utilize their bonuses and not invest in, in Ponzi schemes and everything, and then there'll be no money afterwards?
I think you just use your money for things that you need and not for what you want. And budget, because we know January is a long month.
Yes, people forget that December is also 4 months, and 4 weeks, just like January is also 4 weeks, and your spending tips is now from e-credit onboard.
Yes, for us, Mina, what you can do, honestly, mawuthola ama bonus, uthola ama payout where stock fell. Take a portion of that money and try uvale ikweletu zakho, especially the smaller ones, maybe kusalama balance amancane. Try and pay those off, because the benefit will be come 2014, you will have more money, more disposable income, because uvalama account and ukhumule ukuthi mawuvalama account earlier. Sometimes you can even negotiate for early settlement discount.
Absolutely, yes.
You'll save there, you'll save on interest fees, so that is what you need to do, and plan. Mawuhamba uyotenga, go in and buy what you bought. Don't go in utenge ibet uvela uphume nama.
No, so exactly. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Baba Mpumelelo, njengoba ngikuthembisile, nansi inumber 012-940-4450. Ngiphinde le number 012-940-4450. Baba Mpumelelo KZN, ungabafonela bakusize mayelana nendaba yemoto. Hayi, asibambe lapho ke mbukeli ngengxoxo yanamhlanje. Sesiphelelwe isikhathi. Ngicela nje ukubonga izivakashi zethu ngokusipha isikhathi sazo kanye nolwazi labo. Sibonge nani futhi babukeli ngokusifonela nama SMS nokuthi nibe nathi kuze kube manje. Please do join us again, same time, same place, for another live consumer topic of the week. Ukhumbule ukuthola impinda zezinhlelo zethu. Please tune in to the very same channel every Monday morning from 9:30 kuya ku 10:30. That is on SABC 1 in Mzansi for sure. For myself, Alicia Ntombi Akajali and the entire team, it's goodbye. Nisale kahle.